So you haven't dove in 6 months, Mr. 100-foot freediver. Season is coming. You're not ready. And the ladies, they'll be watching. Let me help you live up to your social media hype. I'm gonna get you ready. They won't even know you haven't touched the water all year. You're gonna start this season like a rock star.
Here we are in a place that's very foreign to me. My name's Forrest and welcome to this episode of DIY Waterworld. Yes! So I'm in a gym. Truth be told, I do not spend any time in the gym. So why am I in here today? Well, for this episode, I'm about to share with you the 3 ultra effective exercises I do to keep me in freedive shape. Not only will these maintain you throughout the season if you have time that you can't dive, these will keep you at that peak level. Believe it or not, I can go months at a time without diving, especially with this whole COVID thing in the last year. I'm able to take time off from diving, and by doing these 3 exercises, I literally can hop in the water and not skip a beat. So these 3 exercises are gonna not only maintain you, but if you haven't been diving or doing anything physical for a while, you know, season's about to start, this is your secret recipe to getting in freedive shape. I promise you, all I ask you for is 1 week. Just please try these 3 exercises, and I promise you're gonna see some incredible results actually after the first couple days. So without further ado, let's get these exercises started. So here we go, exercise number 1, and the most important of the bunch. This is the diaphragm stretch. This is gonna give you more comfort at depth, longer bottom times, and much more comfort while you free dive. At depth especially, the deeper you go, the more this comes into play. So here we go, diaphragm stretch. Okay, so first thing you wanna do is start sitting in an upright position. You wanna make sure that there's nothing in front of you because you will be bending forward. So the key points to this are, you're gonna be doing this stretch on an exhale, and you're gonna be simulating pretty much a deep dive. I'll be breaking this down, the physics, the physiology of this stretch and why it's so important at the end of this episode. But for right now, what's important to remember is that since you are simulating a deep dive, it's very important that you keep your head in a very neutral position. I don't wanna be turning, looking around, looking up. When I'm on this full exhale and really engaging my diaphragm, I want to maintain a neutral head position. So that's the first safety part of this stretch. So I'm just going to go right through it. The way this is going to work is I'm going to sit in a relaxed position. I'm going to take a nice relaxed breath in. Belly breathing. If you don't know how to belly breathe, Google it. All my breathing is through my belly, my diaphragm breathing. So I'm gonna do a nice relaxed exhale. 1 more inhale. And now I'm gonna do a forced exhale. I wanna get all the air I can get out of my lungs. I'm gonna crouch forward. Turn to the side. So, pause. Pretend I've fully exhaled. I can't talk you through this with a full exhale. So at this point, I've fully exhaled all of the air out of my chest. I literally am reaching, just trying to get every bit, even if you make noises, whatever it takes to get that air out. The key to this being ultra effective is having all the air out of your lungs. So I'm crouched down, I've got all the air out, I've gone to the side, little side crunch, really push that air out. So now that the air is out, I'm now gonna sit upright. So I fully exhaled. And now I'm gonna pull in my diaphragm. So my belly button, imagine you have a string from your belly button to your back. I'm just gonna pull it, right? Maybe you should practice just pulling it in. We've all done this at some point as kids. You know, oh, look how skinny I am. So we're gonna pull in our diaphragm. I'm on the full exhale. I'm just gonna hold it for a second. And then here's the key to making this incredibly effective. Now, after pulling it in, I'm not just gonna take a breath. You're gonna feel an incredible urge to breathe. This will not be comfortable. You might feel like your eyes wanna pop out of your head. You're gonna hold this stretch for about 5 seconds. And then with pursed lips, I'm gonna control how much air comes into my lungs. So here I am, pulling my diaphragm. Now a controlled, slow inhale. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to do one in full speed for you. Here we go. Forced exhale. Everything out. Get it out. That's it. So the key points again, keep your head neutral. That full exhale, you really want to work on the effectiveness of this. You're going to purse your lips and make sure that it's a super slow inhale. You do not want to be letting the air just inhale like that. You want to control it. The other thing you're simulating is coming up from a very deep dive. You're simulating your lungs filling up with air, kind of that light at the end of the tunnel, knowing that you're going to get to the surface, knowing that your lungs are going to be full. So what you're going to see also is that as you do a couple of these in a row, each one is going to feel better and better because you're actually stretching your diaphragm. So any questions? Comment below, send me a private message. On to the next exercise. Let there be light. So now we've moved into another part of the marina. This is the, I guess the lounge area. Some people showed up to the weight room, the gym upstairs, and I honestly got camera shy trying to talk, and it was kind of weird actually. And they're like, what the hell is this guy doing? Some freaky shit. So anyhow, here we go. Number 2 is ankle flexibility. Why is ankle flexibility important, and why do I make this one of my top 3 secret exercises? Well, ankle flexibility, if you haven't been in the water for a while, you jump in, you've probably noticed that as you start kicking around, especially if you're wearing plastic blades or a stronger blade, a stiffer blade, your ankles and tendons actually get fatigued pretty quick, and you might feel some pain there. So this is going to alleviate that and get you 10 steps ahead to not only the more flexibility, but also strengthening them as well. So this is going to be a really simple exercise to do, but there's actually one more amazing part to this exercise benefit. And that benefit is totally performance related. So that's usually the easy sell in getting somebody to practice this, is letting them know, hey, you can actually dive better and more efficiently and have a better kick if you create some ankle flexibility. So let me show you real quick how that's gonna work. So there's something called pigeon toeing. If you haven't heard of it, here you go. Pigeon toeing is what most people do when they free dive, when they kick. As you're kicking, ooh, look at that beautiful blade. Instead of the perfect front, back, right? Instead of getting that perfect kick, what people do is, because their ankles don't have the flexibility, they actually twist. So as I kick, perfect kick is going to be up, up. So what people naturally do is, because they don't have the flexibility, it's less comfortable, it's, I guess, the least path of resistance, they actually turn their ankles a little bit. You've probably noticed watching other people kick that the blades go through the water at an angle. And what happens by the blade going at an angle up and down, water is now sliding. If this blade is at an angle, water is going to slide past the blade. If I want to get the most traction in the water, I want this blade to be flat and moving straight up, straight down. So by getting ankle flexibility, you're going to actually improve your kick tremendously. You probably won't notice it because who looks at their feet while they're swimming? Try it, it actually works. But especially if you have somebody GoPro you know, your kick beforehand, your kick after. Yes, you can make some conscious corrections as well, but ankle flexibility is the biggest thing you can do for getting a better kick and getting getting rid of that pigeon toeing, which is less effective. So what does this translate to? Less kicks to get the same depth. Bada boom, bada bing.
So here we go. The first thing we're going to do is step back. And you're going to bend your toes and push the top of your toes and top of your foot into the ground. Really focus on a gentle push, but also lining your leg up and your feet to be straight ahead. You're not going to push too hard. You're going to hold this about 10 to 15 seconds. Then you're going to switch sides. And same thing. Really feel that alignment and feel the nice stretch. You're going to repeat this process 3 times. Another variation I like to do is to actually rotate just to get a little bit better of a stretch and feel where I'm most and least flexible.
So the other way you can do a nice stretch for your ankles is actually wearing your fin. Let the fin blade help you to actually be in the proper position. Close your eyes, make a mental note of what it feels like. You know, what's your foot position? It probably won't feel real natural, and by putting your fins on and actually pushing against the ground, right? I mean, pushing, you'll actually see how you want to naturally bring your knees to the side and actually pigeon toe for a more comfortable position. That's not what you want. You should feel a really good stretch when you're in the proper position, which is basically that straight up and down.
And then to wrap up ankle flexibility, I like to do some sit down ankle rotations. These are really good not just for the ankle flexibility, but also engaging all your muscles surrounding your ankles, ligaments, tendons. You're getting a good stretch, you're strengthening. And then I like to finish it all off with a good old-fashioned ballerina toe point. These are really good for your kicking technique as well as creating muscle memory for when you're fitting.
And on to our third exercise. So this third one is going to be legs. Legs, legs, legs. Legs feed the beast. There is so much truth to that. Again, what is one of the number one things that happens when you haven't been diving? You hop in the water, start kicking around, and you notice, man, my legs are so tired, especially if there's current. So keeping my legs in shape is crucial, but I'm not doing anything totally crazy. This is a really short, quick thing to do. So the first 2 exercises, you should do those daily. Legs, I'd say every other day would be pretty awesome. If you can do it more often, then cool. But 2 to 3 times a week is great. So there's a couple of exercises I do to keep my legs in shape.
And my first choice is going to be a stationary bike. I like pedaling forwards, pedaling backwards. It allows me to engage different parts of my leg muscles. Also, I like to use this time to get some stretching done, kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You can see here I'm working on my streamlined flexibility, so I'm stretching my arms, my triceps, my shoulders. I've got my own little routine I go through while I can do this. I'm not having to pay attention to riding a bike down the road. I also like to change the intensity. So I'll go about 50% at a high RPM and low resistance. So this is more of an aerobic workout. And then I like to spend the other half of the time going at a higher resistance and a lower RPM, which is more of an anaerobic workout for my legs. I'll go a couple minutes on each and then just go back and forth. So I'll go high heart rate, high RPM, and then switch for a couple minutes of low RPM with high resistance, and so on and so forth. And this I find works really well as an overall workout.
Also, if you don't have access to a stationary bike, you can do lunges. Lunges work amazing. You can do a stationary lunge, or you can do lunges just walking. All of them are completely effective. The key here is that something is better than nothing. And if you're getting these done, you're starting to put these into play each week, you're gonna see a dramatic difference when you get back in the water. Haven't been diving for a while. You know, for me, especially if I'm diving deep, this is the biggest thing I can do to keep up with students, avoid leg cramping, and just do repetitive dives to depth. And really, after a week or so of doing these exercises, you'll see that your depth diving will be remarkably better if you don't already have a leg routine. So if you already have something going on, you know, if you go to the gym, again, a anaerobic workout, it's nice to incorporate at least some sort of aerobic exercise into your leg routine. That's it. So those are the 3 exercises you can do that are gonna make a huge difference for that first time you get in the water, or if you just wanna maintain. Again, I cannot stress the importance of that first stretch, the diaphragm stretch. That is the holy grail. I recommend doing those daily. You wanna do about 4 to 5 reps on those. You know, take a couple minutes in between, do another stretch, couple minutes rest, do another stretch. You're gonna see the differences instantaneously, and from day to day, it's gonna be pretty awesome, the difference you'll notice and feel. So diaphragm stretch is most important. Do that daily. Do them on an empty stomach as well. You do not want to have food in you when you do a diaphragm stretch, because you will be running for the toilet, I promise, and you're not going to get the full effectiveness or the most out of your stretch if you have food in your stomach. You want to be empty. Overall, you know, legs is going to be one that you just go at your own pace. Try to incorporate it 2 to 3 times a week. It will make a huge difference. And again, that ankle flexibility is going to be huge in creating a better kick, I promise you, and a lot less pain or just fatigue of your ankles, tendons, and even muscles. You actually have, you know, muscles. Have you ever cramped in the arch of your foot? By doing these stretches, you're going to see that you cramp a lot less. So that's another big part to this. So if you have any questions, comment below, shoot me a message, and I don't know, hit the like button, subscribe, or not. It's okay. I do these for fun, and I hope you learned something. Thanks, and if you have any ideas for future episodes, let me know. Thanks for watching, and see you soon. Okay, so if you're still watching, you want to know why a diaphragm stretch is so kick-ass and why it works so well. So I'm going to give you the really quick version and an analogy that will probably help drive it home. So the first thing is to understand what our diaphragm is. Our diaphragm, imagine a parachute. We've all seen a parachute before. Now imagine that skin, that dome shape, is just a thin muscle. That's what your diaphragm looks like. Your diaphragm actually separates your vitals, so your lungs, your heart. Your diaphragm separates those vitals from your abdominals, everything non-vital organs below, your intestines, your kidney, spleen, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a doctor, I'm a free diver, but bear with me. So here we go. Your diaphragm is separating those. And what happens is, as we dive and get deeper, everything compresses. So Boyle's law. With increased pressure is reduced volume. So as you dive down and pressure increases, which is why we have to equalize our ears, as pressure increases, volume decreases. So if you took a a balloon, you'd watch it as you get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, it will compress. So our lungs and chest do the same exact thing. My chest will actually start to compress with depth. It happens to every one of us. You can't avoid it. This is physics 101. So why is my diaphragm important? Just get to the point, right? Well, my diaphragm does not have much flexibility. Most human beings after the age of 7 really stop using their diaphragm to breathe. So a little baby, a newborn infant, right? You watch them when they're born, you look at their belly, their little bellies are rising up and down because their diaphragm is developed for them to breathe. That's how they breathe. They don't have intercostal muscles, chest, back muscles, shoulders, neck. As those muscles develop through time, we start to use those muscles in our day-to-day breathing, especially for like more strenuous breathing, exercising. And over time, there's a lot of different theories out there. We just stop using our diaphragm. So unless you have gotten into singing or musical instruments where wind instruments where you have your breathing's important, you probably aren't really aware of your diaphragm. So through time, we stop using our diaphragm for breathing. So with that not using our diaphragm, it starts to lose flexibility. So here we go. Here's my analogy. Imagine for any of if you've broken an arm, some of you may have broken an arm before, you put it in a cast. So my arm has a muscle, right? My bicep. So if I put my arm into a cast, it's gonna sit there for several weeks. What do you think is gonna happen when I take that cast off and I go to open my arm? I'm probably gonna feel some tightness in my bicep because it's not flexible. I haven't used it. Stay with me. So my arm, it's been in a cast, no flexibility. So now let's look at my diaphragm. Same thing, my diaphragm's a muscle as well. If that parachute is just sitting there and I haven't used it for breathing, I haven't stretched it, that parachute is losing flexibility. So now let's fast forward to freediving. As I start to freedive and depth increases, everything in my chest starts to compress. So my diaphragm will actually get stretched. And what happens if it gets stretched beyond a certain point? Well, I'm gonna feel an uncomfortableness. It's just like my arm. What if my arm has been in a cast now for years and I go to open it? Ooh, I feel it's not comfortable. I can't relax, right? Now imagine you're holding your breath and you're 100 feet deep. So now the deeper I go, the more it stretches. No, I wanna turn back. See the analogy here? It gets even better, folks. So now imagine that I'm holding my breath. We've all, maybe not all, but if you've held your breath for a long amount of time, you've probably felt contractions. So contractions are a combination of your intercostals, your diaphragm, thoracic contractions, intercostal contractions. Everybody for a long time now has called them diaphragmatic contractions, and that's not the case. It's actually a combination of everything. But in those contractions, your diaphragm is actually, it's moving, it's contracting. And if you don't have flexibility, it's not gonna be comfortable. So it doesn't matter when you get contractions in a breath hold, 1 minute, 3 minutes, if you don't have flexibility, it's not gonna be comfortable. So when I used to train for long statics, people would ask me, do you not get contractions? And I tell them, yeah, I get contractions, 2 minutes, all the time, like a stopwatch. And they wonder, how do you hold your breath through contractions? That's gotta be so painful, so just distracting. They're not distracting because I have tremendous flexibility. So now we're gonna take the arm analogy, and now let me compare it to my good arm. I haven't broken this arm. This arm has incredible flexibility. So what happens if I go to do a deep dive, and let's say my arm is my diaphragm, and as I go deeper, my arm starts to stretch. My bad arm that doesn't have the flexibility, I'm gonna feel, buddy, my bad arm, I'm gonna feel that pressure, the uncomfortableness. But now my good arm, no big deal. It's just stretching. It doesn't bother me. Yeah, I might notice it. Same thing with the breath hold. If you have a flexible diaphragm, you can continue to hold your breath.
And as you have contractions, it's not a big deal because you have that flexibility if you stretch your diaphragm, just like my good arm. So now imagine, let's just say that my arm will involuntarily contract when I hold my breath for a long period of time. Do you think that you could become comfortable with your arm opening, closing, opening, closing while you hold your breath? You'd probably get used to it. It might distract you a little bit, but with time, you'll see that if you get your diaphragm flexible, you actually can borderline take a nap during a breath hold because your contractions now become just like your arm, nothing. You've got the flexibility. So now it's just a muscle that's opening and closing. Hope that helps. To sum it all up, I know I went on a pretty big tangent here on the diaphragm. There's a ton to it. I'm trying to give you the quick version. Do some research, do some reading on it. Diaphragm flexibility is everything in freediving. I cannot stress enough the importance of having a flexible diaphragm. It is the one thing that I want to stay on top of. Not only is it good for preparing you for deeper dives, keeping you in shape, getting you ready for season, diaphragm flexibility literally can just open doors. It's going to make you more relaxed at depth. If you're more relaxed at depth, you know, with relaxation comes equalization. Something I teach in all of my deep courses. You know, if you can stay relaxed, you're going to see that equalizing becomes a lot easier. Also, with diaphragm flexibility, you're going to have the ability to avoid injury. Injuries in freediving, once you start getting beyond 100 feet residual volume, you're now susceptible to a couple injuries that can happen if you're not properly prepared. The way to prepare and prevent injuries in freediving is to have flexibility. The way you work on flexibility is a diaphragm stretch. So again, super, super important. I cannot stress enough how important the diaphragm stretch is. Do them daily. You're going to see the difference. And I'm going to finish this off with one testimonial. I've only had a handful of students that have religiously taken diaphragm stretches and just run with them. Do them daily. Those people I know that have adopted this practice into their daily routine have noticed huge differences. So one guy, to be specific, was doing just over minute dives at about 30 feet deep. I explained to him the significance of a diaphragm stretch. He's a beginner freediver. He started implementing a diaphragm stretch daily in less than a year. Not through diving all the time. He doesn't get to dive that often. But by doing diaphragm stretches daily, not only are you getting used to your lungs being empty, and you're actually doing breath hold training, believe it or not, while you stretch your diaphragm. From him doing diaphragm stretches, his dive times increased to almost 3 minutes cakewalk. He was able to stay relaxed. When he had contractions, it wasn't a big deal. And, you know, the payoff can be huge if you do them. So again, I'm beating a dead horse here, and I want you to know how important a diaphragm stretch is. Do them. They work. They will pay off. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.